Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyestavaihi Vede Sangapadakramopanishade Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavasthita tadgatena manasa Sura suragana Devaya tasmai namaha Devaya tasmai. Let us chant the first 3 verses together. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Adha Shodashodhyayaha Daivasura Sampat Vibhaga Yogaha. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhihi Jnana Yoga Vyavasthitihi Dhanam Dhamascha Yajñascha Swadhyayastapa Arjavam Ahimsa Satyam Akrodha Tyaga Shantirapaishunam Daya Bhuteshvalo Luptvam Mardavam Hrirachapalam Tejakshama Dhritis Shaucham Adroho Natimanita Bhavanti Sampadam Devi Abhijatasya Bharata. So in the first 3 verses, Bhagavan describes Daivi Sampat, the divine virtues. So yesterday we had seen up to Satyam, the second verse, the second term. Ahimsa, Satyam, Akrodha. So next one is AKRODHA. What is AKRODHA? The opposite of Krodha. Absence of anger. Even when the situations are irritating you, there is no anger arising in your mind. Or even if there is anger, you are able to control it. Now this anger is a big problem for very many people. So therefore there is a separate topic called anger management. In very many institutes we have such topics, anger management. Now how to deal with anger? See, first of all, we must know that there is something called being angry and there is something called showing anger. What is the difference? When you show anger, you are controlling anger. Anger is under your control. You are the master. So therefore, when you want, you can show anger. When you don't want, you can withdraw it. Then there is something called being angry. When you are angry, anger is the master. You are a helpless slave in the hands of anger. There are very many situations where you have to show anger, because otherwise the work won't happen. Especially the tamasic people who don't understand sama, dana, bheda. For them, anger alone is the solution. There are places, very many times the parents have to get angry with children when they don't listen, when they are disobedient. But then here you have to understand, it is not being angry, it is only showing anger. Now how will I know whether I am angry or I am only showing anger? You will know. The mind is peaceful even when you are showing anger. Isn't it? And moreover, you are able to bounce back to your peaceful state after showing anger. Your thinking is very clear even when you are showing that anger. Even when you are shouting, your intellect is very clear. So these are the proofs that the anger is only an external drama to get your work done. So what we have to practice? Only showing anger and not being angry. Number one. Next point. If you want to get rid of this evil trait called anger, first of all, we should know that it is an evil trait. Very many times we justify our anger. As long as you justify your anger, saying that because of him I got angry, he did like this, therefore I am angry. As long as you are justifying your anger, you cannot get rid of it. If you want to get rid of anger, you must know what happens when anger seizes you. You must know what happens to you. What are the things which you are losing when anger captures you as a prisoner? So Bhagavad Gita itself gives the answer to it. Krodhat bhavati sammohah, sammohat smriti vibhramah, smriti bhramshat buddhi nashah, buddhi nashat pranashyati. Where did we see? Last month we had taken second chapter. In that second chapter this comes. The ladder of fall. So one of the rung of ladder is this. Krodha. Intense anger. What happens after krodha? Krodhat bhavati sammohah. Total delusion. What is there you don't see. What is not there you see. Sammohat smriti vibhramah. Loss of memory. Smriti bhramshat buddhi nashah, loss of intellect, loss of discriminating ability. And once you are not able to discriminate properly, what is right, what is wrong, what I should do, what I should not do, what is dharma, what is adharma, the intellect literally becomes paralyzed. And once the intellect, the discriminating faculty becomes paralyzed, that person is only a two-legged animal, isn't it? He does something stupid, pranashyati. When Arjuna asks, Bhagavan, why do people commit sin? Even though they don't want to commit sin, it is as though some external force is compelling the person to commit sin. What is that force? So then Bhagavan says, Kama esha krodha esha Rajoguna samudbhavaha mahashano mahapapma. Bhagavan says it is because of kama, it is because of krodha. Born out of rajas, rajoguna samudbhavaha. So this is a very important tip to conquer anger. What is the tip? As long as the mind is in the rajasic state, handling anger will be impossible, near to impossible. So what is the tip? Nityasattvasto bhava. When your mind is in a sattvic state, handling anger becomes very easy. When your mind is in a rajasic state, you will never be able to handle anger. In short, a pure mind is able to handle anger easily. An impure mind cannot handle anger. Bhagavan describes krodha as mahapapi. It makes you commit all kinds of sins. The immoral, the unrighteous, everything. A person may raise his hands against his own parents, against his own teachers, when anger is ruling him. What he cannot do, we just cannot even imagine. He can do anything. So therefore anger is called as Mahapapi. So we must know that this anger is not something good. It is something to be eliminated from our personality. Never justify your anger. There is no situation in this world where you have to get angry. The moment you are angry, all your efficiency drains away. The moment you are angry, you are disturbed. And once you are disturbed, you are a nobody. Because you are at your best when your mind is at peace. You are at your worst when the mind is disturbed. So therefore, the first step is being consciously aware of the calamities of having this evil trait called anger. Be intensely aware of its evil consequences. So when you are intensely aware of these evil consequences, naturally an intense desire comes from within to get rid of this evil trait. The first step in getting rid of any evil trait is having an intense desire to get rid of it. That's the first step. Where will you get this intense desire? When you are intensely aware of the evil consequences, you will have that intense desire. And once that desire becomes intense, you will do everything, you will apply our formulas to eliminate it. Now the next question is how to handle anger then. Now I have understood that it is a dangerous thing. How to handle anger? You will always find that anger is deeply connected to something you love very much. The Kama and Krodha, they go together. There is something which you are intensely attached to. That very same attachment is taking the form of anger. When you are not getting that which you are intensely attached to, then that intense anger, intense liking, intense raga itself take the form of anger. This is the first thing to be noted. Wherever there is intense attachment, there is always a trigger button for anger. Atom bomb is ready to diffuse wherever there is attachment. So therefore, what is the best way of getting rid of attachment? You will find the next value given is TYAGA, renunciation, giving up attachment. That we will come later. So the best way of handling anger is never have intense attachment to anything in life. That topic we will discuss later. Now, the second point to be kept in mind is when you regularly meditate, you will be in a better position to handle anger. Meditation should be made regular, feature of your daily routine. What do I mean when I say meditation? That ability to look within and observe the mind. It is an ability like any other ability. That ability to look within. The ability to pay attention to the mind. The ability to observe the mind. Normally this ability we don't cultivate. What do we cultivate? We cultivate only the ability to look outside the things and beings. Always our attention is extrovert, outside. And that is the reason why we are not even aware when this anger catches us. But as you start developing this ability through regular meditation, the ability to look within, slowly you are able to observe the happenings in the mind. You are able to observe the thought generations in the mind. What are the different kinds of thoughts that arise in the mind? You are able to observe. And since you are able to observe it at a very early stage, because this thought has this nature of multiplying, of gaining momentum. When you start observing within, you are able to detect the existence of anger at the very sprout level itself. At a very initial stage, at an early stage, you are able to detect it. That yes, it has come. Now that small irritation is there. Slowly it is picking up. Once you have detected this initial stage of anger as a slight disturbance in the deep within of your personality, then handling anger becomes easy. A thought at a very initial stage is very easy to remove. Earlier the detection, easier is the correction. This is the law. If you are able to detect at a very early stage, you are able to remove it easily. But very many times the problem is we are not even able to detect it. That is the problem. So how to detect it at an early stage? Develop this ability to look within. As you meditate regularly, sincerely, seriously, your ability to look deep within your mind, that ability also increases. Not only then you are aware of the thoughts in your conscious mind, you are also aware of the thoughts in the subconscious mind. And once you develop this ability, you will find any of the weaknesses, any of these negativities of the mind, it cannot overpower you. Because at a very early stage itself, you nip it in the bud. So this has to be developed. It can be developed only with regular practice. So this is how you have to handle anger. Any other technique is not going to work. What are the other techniques? When you get angry, count up to 10, count up to 100. These are the things they give. It's okay. They are all childish techniques. Or when you get angry, run away from there. See, when you get angry, you just don't know what your intellect will tell you. So all these advice will not work. Because the intellect will say, I don't have the patience to count out to 100. This is what the intellect will say. And you have no choice but to listen to that intellect. Isn't it? When anger has seized you, you are a helpless victim in the hands of anger. Then the anger will decide what you should do. You cannot decide anything. So then expecting the intellect to function when the anger has conquered you, it is a foolish suggestion. Nothing will work. Only spiritual techniques alone will work. If you want a permanent solution to this problem, that is called as AKRODHA. AKRODHA. What is the next one? TYÄGA. TYÄGA means renunciation. Renunciation of what? Not renunciation of things and beings, but renunciation of the attachment towards the things and beings. So here TYÄGA means detachment. Detachment from everything of the world. Now what do you mean by renunciation of attachment? Again, here also we must understand, attachment also will lead us only to problems. We are attached to so many things. We are attached to our body, we are attached to house, we are attached to family, we are attached to possessions, so many attachments are there. Now if you want to get rid of this attachment, we must again know the evil consequences of attachment. What happens when you are attached to anything? Just now we have seen it will definitely lead to anger. Again, anything that you are attached to, you will find that thing becomes your weak point. A person who is attached to a particular thing, he will definitely compromise with the higher values when that thing is in danger. A thing or a being. Wherever there is attachment, there is addiction. Wherever there is attachment, there is helplessness. Wherever there is attachment, there is compromise of the higher values. Wherever there is attachment, there is sorrow. Wherever there is attachment, there will be delusion. So attachment is not something good. In fact, Arjuna's whole problem was because of attachment. The whole Bhagavad Gita is born out of the seed of attachment. The misery of Arjuna was only because of attachment. So what we have to do? Give up this unhealthy attachment. The end result of attachment is always sorrow. Because the entire world of things and beings, it is constantly changing. All things and beings are constantly perishing. In this perishable world, when you are attached to something perishable, what does it mean? Someday or the other, that perishable thing is going to disappear from your life. So what happens when you hold on to something perishable? That perishable thing has to perish. And when that thing perishes, what happens to you? You are heartbroken, isn't it? Nowadays this depression, getting into depression has become a very fashionable word now. What is the cause of this depression? Somewhere attachment is the cause of depression. You are attached to something, that thing went away. It can be name, fame, power, position, relationship, love, whatever. You are attached to something, that thing went away, and now you get into depression. So therefore the cause of all our sorrow is attachment alone. So therefore what you should do? Healthy attachment. What do you mean healthy attachment? It is nothing but healthy detachment. Always keep in touch with the realities of life. Then you can develop this detachment. What is the reality of life? Everything is going to go. Even this will pass away. This is the reality of life. Physical body. What is the truth about this physical body? A day has to come when the body has to die. It is a reality. Stick to the reality. Don't ignore the reality. Face it. When you face the reality, when you accept the reality, when you don't run away from the reality, when you don't ignore the reality, that reality will no more be creating any problem for you. But suppose you ignore it, then what will happen? Suddenly the reality will come. It will catch you unaware. And that's where all the problem starts. So at the back of the mind, always keep this fact. What is the fact? This body has to die someday or the other. Then you will find you will no more be scared of death. There is something in me which is immortal. The pure consciousness is immortal. But as far as the body is concerned, it will have disease, it will have all kinds of problems, and a day will come when it will drop dead. I will have to renounce this body. So why not renounce it even when you are living? Renouncing the body doesn't mean don't give food, don't clothe it, don't bathe it. No. Take care of the body. Do whatever the body demands. Give whatever the body demands. But at the back of the mind, be in touch with the reality. What is the reality? Body has to die. In the same way with respect to relationships also. What is the reality? Every relation has a beginning, had a beginning, every relation will have an end. It's a fact. Accept it. So even when you are in relation with someone, husband is there, wife is there, children, parents, grandparents, live with them, serve them, love them, do everything whatever is needed according to your station of life. But at the same time, what should be kept at the back of the mind? This relation will end someday or the other. Now this is called healthy detachment. There is an unhealthy detachment. What is that unhealthy detachment? Anyway the relation has to end, so why should I care? No, that is unhealthy. We are not talking of what you call unhealthy indifference. No. Be with people, love them, serve them, be with them, but at the same time, don't lose sight of the truth, of the reality. So with respect to the body, with respect to relation, with respect to name, fame, power, position, someday you are very powerful, but at the same time you must remember what? This power will go. I will be retired, and once I am retired, the power is gone. And then the very same people, they will no more respect me. Keep it. It's a fact. Now they will say, good morning sir, good morning madam, etc., etc. They will bow down when you are powerful. Once you are retired, the very same people, maybe they may not even look at you. So what should be done? Accept it. Cheerful acceptance of the reality is what is called as detachment. No expectation from anyone. No attachment to anything. Whatever I have been given, Bhagavan has given out of infinite love, mercy. Use it. Use it for yourself, use it for the welfare of the community. But when it goes away, never grieve. Your grief will be directly proportional to attachment. So what has to be done? TYAGA, detachment. This is called TYAGA. This is a real TYAGA. This is called as sannyasa actually, giving up. What is needed is not external sannyas. What is needed is internal sannyas. Because externally you may wear a cloth, but still you may be attached to your ashram. You may be attached to what you call your disciples. TYAGA doesn't go. So we have to understand, whenever we use this term sannyasa or TYAGA or renunciation, it has something to do with the attitude of a mind. It has something to do with right understanding. This is TYAGA. Next one. Shanti. What is Shanti? You know it. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace. It is considered to be the end result of all virtues. It can also be called the mother of all virtues, both ways. When you are at peace with yourself, you will find all these virtues coming automatically from you. Put in another way is also true. When any of these virtue is there in full measure, you will find automatically you are gravitating towards peace. For example, bhakti. When intense devotion for God wells up in your heart, what is the end result? Shanti is the result. Isn't it? There are moments when you are deeply connected to the divine. When your eyes are filled with love for God, filled with the tears born out of love for God. When you deeply feel His presence in your heart. What is the experience? You feel that you are in the lap of the Lord, that Lord is taking care of you. You are absolutely safe and secure, well guided by the omniscient, omnipresent Lord. What is the end result? The end result is Shanti. Isn't it? What is the end result of jnana? When you have that knowledge brightly shining, there are moments, there are glimpses when you clearly perceive whatever is said in the scriptures. You clearly experience. Maybe they are rare moments, but there are moments in the life of a seeker. As far as a jnani is concerned, he is established there. But as far as a sadhaka is concerned, there are rare moments when he is connected to the truth. When that knowledge becomes very clear. When he clearly feels that I am consciousness which has nothing to do with the body. Then what happens? The mind becomes free from all kinds of doubts, agitations. When the mind is free from all doubts, such a mind is called a peaceful mind. See again, jnana also leads to peace only. What about vairagya? When the mind is filled with vairagya, when the mind is free from free from all kinds of passions of the heart, when the mind is free from all kinds of attachments, when the mind is not craving for sense pleasures, what is the state of the mind? Again the mind is peaceful. I don't want anything. That is also peace. When the mind is free from all kinds of hatred feeling, himsa, what is that end result? What is the state of the mind? Peaceful. See? So the absence of kama leads to peace. Absence of krodha leads to peace. Absence of mada, matsarya, lobha, everything, final thing is peace. So what is the goal of life? Infinite peace is the goal of life. Isn't it? In fact, it is this peace which inspires the sadhaka to put more and more effort in sadhana. What gives inspiration to the seekers? To put more and more effort, to do more and more spiritual practice, to invest more and more time and energy in the spiritual pursuit. What inspires? It is this shanti which inspires. You find that when you put more and more effort, the intensity of shanti increases. Every seeker experiences this. 2 years back how I was and now how I am. There is a great change in me, they say. It is not the final ultimate realization alone which gives you peace. No. As you progress in the path of spirituality, you will find that the intensity of the peace also increases. Yes or no? There is more and more clarity, there is more and more devotion, there is more and more dispassion. All of them finally lead to more and more intense peace. So shanti, a state of mind when it craves nothing. A state of mind when it wants nothing. A state of mind when it desires nothing. A state of mind when it doesn't want to become anything, doesn't want to go anywhere, indulge in anything, which is totally contented in itself, fulfilled in itself. That kind of sattvic shanti we are talking of. There is a tamasic shanti and rajasic shanti also. What is tamasic shanti? Some of you may be getting it now. Good sleep. Tamasic. That is also shanti, isn't it? When we are sleeping, there is a shanti. That's called as tamasic shanti. Here we are not talking of that. Then there is a rajasic shanti. What is rajasic shanti? You wanted something badly and you got it. When you get what you desired, there is a temporary shanti there. You intensely wanted something and you got it. At that time, what is the state of the mind? Shanti. That is called as rajasic shanti, born out of fulfillment of desires. We are not talking of that. What are we talking of? We are talking of the shanti which is causeless, which is unconditional, which is effortless, which is our nature. for which no effort is needed, which is spontaneous. Shanti is our nature. You don't have to work hard to gain Shanti, really speaking. If Shanti is your nature, why should you work for Shanti? But now we find that we are working hard for Shanti. Why? Ashanti has become our nature now. Isn't it? We have wrongly trained our mind for so many births, so many years. The momentum is so strong that now Ashanti appears to be our nature. It is like the train which is constantly running at, say, 300 km per hour, and suddenly the driver takes away the accelerator, stops accelerator. Then what happens? The train keeps moving, isn't it? Why? The past momentum. In the same way, today we are experiencing Ashanti as a natural state because of the past momentum of the samskaras. But really speaking, Shanti is our natural state. So we are putting forth all effort to get rid of this Ashanti. Just like the brake is needed for a running train to stop, in the same way, all spiritual sadhanas are nothing but brake. Since we have understood that we are going in the wrong direction, spiritual sadhana is like a brake. Right, Shantihi. What is the next one? Apaishunam. What is Apaishunam? Absence of Pishunata is called Apaishunam. What is this Pishunata? Pishunata means backbiting. What is backbiting? Backbiting means talking ill of a person to somebody else in the other person's absence. This is called as backbiting. It is called as vilification. Vilification. This is considered to be one of the greatest evil. So let us say there is a person A and person B. Person A and B, they love each other, they are friendly with each other, they trust each other, they respect each other. There is a very good relation between person A and B. Then comes a person C. The person C comes to A. In the absence of B, the person C comes to A and tells, you know that B is not a good person. He has such and such negativity. You know, he spoke such and such thing about you. Finished. Now what will happen to A now? This person has put one drop of poison in the mind of A. Now what has happened to the relationship? Now this A, what? He is such a person. I never knew it. He spoke such and such things about me. My God, I thought he is a nice person. Finished. So what has happened to the relationship now? Gone. Even though, so next time when that B comes in front of A, what will happen in the mind of A? All those injections, the poisonous injections which has come from C, person C, he will remember that. So even when the, what you call, conversations happen at the back of the mind, A is constantly thinking, this B is not a good fellow. Isn't it? So what has happened to the relationship? What has happened to that trust? What has happened to that love? Everything gone. So it is this vice which destroys all relationships. So this is considered to be one of the greatest evil which we have to be very careful about. Now here one more point has to be kept in mind. Very many times we discuss about the negative trait of a person. We discuss the negative trait of Ravana, of Hiranyakashipu, of Duryodhana, of Dushasana, all the negative characters in the Puranas. We discuss the negative characteristics of those people. Why are we discussing? The intention has to be noted. When we discuss the negative characteristics of a person, and the purpose of discussion is only this, that particular negativity should not be there in me. With this purpose, when the discussion happens, it has to be called a healthy discussion. It cannot be called this paishunam. It is not backbiting. Because what is the purpose of discussion? The purpose of discussion is such and such trait is found in such and such person. Am I having that trait? If I am having it, I must get rid of it. When discussion goes in this line, where the goal is self-improvement, then that cannot be considered as backbiting. Then what is wrong in backbiting? In backbiting, the problem is the discussion is happening not for self-improvement, but the discussion is happening, that person is reveling in the negativity of the other person. Why do we revel in the negativity of others? We revel in the negativity of others because somewhere at the back of the mind, our ego wants to prove ourselves superior compared to others. That's why we are very much interested in the negativities of others. So every time when I see the negativity of others, somewhere I am congratulating myself, saying that I am a better person. Isn't it? There is a subtle egoistic joy which a person experiences when he criticizes others. Because when you are proving everyone to be inferior, who alone remains? Who is superior? Only I remain. Isn't it? It gives a subtle egoistic joy. That is why this nature is quite often seen amongst us. We have to be careful. Are we reveling in the negativities of others? Or are we discussing the negativities in order to improve ourselves? So this point has to be kept in mind. So this is an evil trait, apaishunam. What is the next one? Daya bhuteshu. Bhuteshu daya. Daya means compassion. Compassion towards whom? Not just human beings. Bhuteshu means all beings. Animals, birds, all included. Compassion towards all. Now, of course, this is a great virtue. A person who is sensitive to others' suffering. Sensitive to such an extent that he has to do something or the other to relieve the suffering of others. Compassion should be so strong that it should force you to activity. That is a sign of this great Mahatmas, the saintly people. Tulsidas defines a saint like this. The saint's heart is softer than a butter, it seems. Why? Butter melts when it is heated directly. But the heart of a saint melts when it sees the tapa of others, suffering of others. That's how Tulsidas defines. Beautiful. Now, let us analyze this compassion. When do we feel compassionate towards others? What are the conditions involved? Number one, there should be someone who is suffering in front of you. Right? Number two, you are able to understand that suffering. So that person is suffering and is helpless, and you are able to understand because you have gone through the same suffering. This is the second condition. What is the first condition? A person is suffering and is helpless. Second condition, I have gone through that suffering earlier. Third condition, today I am out of that suffering. When these three conditions are satisfied, the heart cannot but melt. So you are seeing a person who is suffering in front of you, and you know what that suffering is because you have been in his shoes. You know that suffering. You know that misery. You know that helplessness. You have gone through it. So when that person is suffering, actually you can feel his suffering. You don't feel any difference between him and yourself. But today you are out of it. So therefore, what happens? That a feeling comes. May this person be free from that suffering. That feeling takes the form of compassion. Daya. That suffering can be of any type. It may be a physical suffering. It may be a suffering born out of the death of near and dear ones. You see. If you are not able to understand that suffering, compassion doesn't rise. This is one of the greatest benefits of suffering. Why Bhagavan has given suffering to all of us? When we suffer, we are able to understand others' suffering. We become better people with suffering. Daya comes. Suffering makes us sensitive. Suffering makes us loving. Suffering forces us into service. There are so many benefits of suffering. Suffering makes you humble in life. Suffering makes you grateful. All these virtues come through suffering. Of course, we may complain and grumble when we are suffering. But suffering is such a wonderful thing. From a sinner, that sinner is transformed to a saint through suffering. Daya bhuteshu, compassion comes when you find somebody suffering. Now, along with this daya bhuteshu, we will take one more virtue, kshama, which you will find in third verse, second term. Kshama. Kshama means forgiveness. We will discuss these two together. Forgiveness. These two virtues go together. Compassion and forgiveness. You are compassionate, therefore you forgive. Compassion is the feeling which is generated in your heart when you see the person suffering. Forgiveness is the feeling generated in your heart when that suffering person harms you out of helplessness. Are you able to understand? A person is suffering, maybe out of ignorance, maybe whatever. He is helpless, and out of helplessness, he is somewhere giving harm to you helplessly. That person is harming you. You are able to understand that helpless state of that person because you have gone through that. So when that person is harming you, natural tendency is compassion. Out of compassion is born forgiveness. You are able to forgive the other person because you know how helpless that person is. Right? Suppose you are walking along the road. Suddenly somebody pushes you from behind. You fall down. With full of anger, revenge, you turn back and you find a blind person standing there. What do you feel? Will you feel like slapping him? When you turned back with anger, isn't it? With a sense of revenge. Who is this idiot? But the moment you see that person helpless, he doesn't know what has happened. What is the feeling which you have? You will find compassion coming up. You will find automatically you are forgiven. Isn't it? You will not think that this person has pushed me, I should punish him. No. You will not feel like punishing him because he is helpless. You know what is to be blind. Because there are we all experience. Somewhere in the dark, all of us, we have gone through the experience when the eyes are no more able to function. In the dark, you hit somewhere, knock something, fall down. We have understood the helplessness of a person when the eyes are not functioning. We have experienced it. So naturally, by inference, you know this person is suffering because of that. And he is helpless because of that. And whatever he has done it helplessly, unknowingly. So then what happens? Automatically, what kind of emotion rise? Forgiveness. You just go and help him also, isn't it? Not only you forgive, you help that person maybe cross the road or whatever. Forgiveness becomes natural. It is the same thing with spirituality also. Here the example given is the physical eye, because of which you can't see. There is something called the eye of wisdom. What does the eye of wisdom show you? The eye of wisdom show you oneness. We are all one. We are packed in different bodies and minds, no doubt. But the essential principle in each one of us, it is the same. It is that consciousness. We are all one. BMIs are different. Body, mind, intellects, they are all different, but the essence is the same. So this eye of wisdom shows you that oneness. Wherever there is oneness, there is love. So if some person is hurting you, harming you, shouting at you, beating you, hitting you, suppose you have that eye of wisdom, you know why he is doing it, isn't it? He is doing it out of ignorance. He doesn't know the truth. So even when that person is abusing you or hurting you, not even a ray of revenge comes in your mind, provided you have the eye of wisdom. Suppose you are also equally ignorant, then he has given me one, I will give him two. Only the higher can understand the lower. The lower cannot understand the lower. The lower cannot understand the higher. Who can understand the lower? Only the higher can understand the lower. So unless we have practiced these values, and unless we have risen ourselves from this petty selfishness by eradicating our ignorance, unless we have lifted ourselves up, we will not be able to practice these virtues. Forgiveness will not come. At the most, you may tolerate each other. Forgiveness will not come. To be truly forgiving, you must have your eye of wisdom opened up. To the extent you become a better sadhaka, to the extent you evolve spiritually, you will find these virtues automatically happening in you. Forgiveness becomes natural. Just like you forgive your teeth when it bites the tongue. Teeth biting the tongue. Do you feel, I should knock off this teeth? You just forget only, isn't it? Truly speaking, that forgiveness is perfect because you forget it completely. You don't even remember when you have done that last time. When did you bite your tongue last time? You don't remember, isn't it? Why you don't remember? Because that forgiveness was total. It was complete. That kind of forgiveness is possible, provided you have your eye of wisdom. This is daya bhuteshu and also kshama. Kshama means, okay. Now what is the next one? Aloluptvam. The absence of loluptvam is called aloluptvam. What do you mean by loluptvam? Loluptvam, of course it is defined as covetousness. The agitations of the organs, sense organs, in the presence of sense objects. when the mind is addicted to sense pleasures. This agitation of the sense organs is called loluptvam. You are addicted to something, a particular sense object, and that sense object has come in front of you. What happens to you? There is a chanchalata, isn't it? The eye movement, the body movement, everything. You want to indulge in that pleasure, whatever it is. You want to make your own. Then that kind of agitation which you experience in the presence of a sense object to which you are addicted, that is called loluptvam. A chain smoker who has not smoked for some time, you keep a pack of cigarette, then you will see loluptvam there. Or a drug addict, he is tempted with some kind of drug, you can see the loluptvam there. He is helpless. The mind wants to indulge, the mind is restless. That restlessness of the mind is expressed at the body level. That restlessness seen at the body level is called loluptvam. So then what is aloluptvam? Absence of that agitation. How can you practice it? What is the cause of loluptvam? Sense addiction is the cause of loluptvam. So how to practice aloluptvam? Never be addicted to anything. Simple. A person who has no interest in smoking, you keep a pack of cigarette, what happens? Nothing happens, isn't it? He looks at it, even then nothing happens. A teetotaler, you keep a bottle of rum or whiskey, what happens? Nothing happens. Where there is no addiction, there is total freedom. What is the definition of freedom? Addictionlessness is called freedom. Modern youngsters think freedom means doing whatever you like. Okay, do whatever you like. Then what happens? I will drink, I will smoke, this is freedom. Fine, drink and smoke. What happens? Slowly you will find you are losing your freedom. Why? Now without drink I can't survive. Without smoke I can't survive. What kind of freedom is this? Your own freedom has led to slavery, isn't it? When you do whatever you like, not following the scriptural injunctions, that will come later. When you follow the scriptures, really you start experiencing freedom. You start experiencing independence. Nothing can bind you. You are free from all kinds of slaveries and addiction. That is a real freedom. The freedom at the mind level is a real freedom. Addiction at the mind is a real addiction. Externally, of course, your country is independent, attain freedom. But what is your condition? Physically also you appear to be free. You can move around anywhere. That is not the real freedom discussed in scriptures. What is the real freedom? The freedom of the mind. Is your mind totally under your control? Then you are free. Is your mind addicted? Then you are in bondage. Aloluptvam. What is the next one? Mardavam. Mardava means gentleness. Mardava means soft. Mridu. Tender, soft. This should be the way in which we must handle everyone. In our behavior, in the way we talk, in the way we carry ourselves, there should be what you call a tenderness, a softness. Absence of harshness. When we deal with things, when we deal with beings, when we talk to someone, when we handle situations, in walking, talking, everywhere there is some kind of sweetness, softness. That is called as Mardava. A pure heart. This is the nature of a pure heart. Softness in that personality. You love to be with such people, isn't it? You are very careful with what they say. very soft, very loving, very tender, very compassionate, very caring. This is called Mardava. As you become more and more spiritual, these things should be seen in your personality. Mardavam. What is the next one? Hrihi. Hrihi means modesty. A sense of shame. Now, shame is a virtue or a vice? Shame is a virtue or a vice? Yeah, there is something called healthy shame and unhealthy shame. Both are there. What is healthy shame? When somebody praises you in front of others, what do you feel? If you are really cultured, you feel you are shrinking, isn't it? You feel very much embarrassed. Somebody is praising you. When you hear your praise, you feel ashamed. You shrink. You don't want to hear it. You are embarrassed. You are uncomfortable. Then that shame is a healthy shame. It's called modesty. It is a virtue. It's called as free. Another healthy shame is when you even think of some immoral act, an unrighteous act. If you were supposed to do it, when you even think, there comes a kind of shame. That is also a healthy shame. Why is it healthy? It prevents you from doing wrong deeds. It prevents you from doing adharma. So therefore it is healthy. Now there is unhealthy shame also. What is unhealthy shame? Nowadays the modern children, they feel ashamed to touch the feet of their parents. Yes or no? That is an unhealthy shame. That is also shame. They feel shy. How can I touch their feet? Then it is unhealthy. You are not doing what you are supposed to do because of shame. Then that shame is unhealthy. We are not talking of that unhealthy shame. We are talking of healthy shame. That is hri, called as modesty. Next one, achapalam. Achapalam, absence of chapalyam. What is chapalyam or chapalata? Purposeless movement of the limbs is called chapalyam. When you are moving your limbs unnecessarily, without any purpose, the fidgety nature, as they say, being fidgety. Legs are moving, hands are moving, or you chew your finger. You yourself, you are not aware what you are doing. Or bite your nail. Or with a pen you do tick, 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 tick something. So restless, something or the other is constantly moving. Why is it moving? There is no reason. All the energy is wasted in unwanted channels. Maybe that is why for such people only this chewing gum is invented, I think. Why is he chewing? No purpose. He is chewing. Something has to be done, so therefore they invented a chewing gum. Purposeless movement of the limbs. What does it show? A restless body shows the presence of a restless mind. Know for sure the person who is showing this kind of restlessness at the body level, at the mind level also, he is equally restless. Restless body is a symptom of a sick mind. Absence of this is called achapalam. Body moves when you have to move it, otherwise it is there in its place. Absence of purposeless movement of the limbs. Achapalam. What is the next one? Tejaha. Tejaha. What is Tejaha? Tej. Tej means a spiritual glow or spiritual shine which is seen in the spiritual seekers. When a person is, have you seen these people who are drug addicts, criminals? They have been caught for some immoral act. Have you seen their photo? In the newspaper it comes. This person has been caught selling drugs or stealing some jewelry, etc. Have you seen their face? You will find that they emanate so much of negative energy that face itself shows. So that is the best example of absence of tej. A glow is missing. There is so much of darkness. We are not talking of the skin color. We are talking of a kind of brightness in the face. There is nothing. It is dull. Why is it so dull? The mind is filled with so much of negativity. The face is nothing but the mirror of the mind. Whatever is in the mind, it shows in the face. The negative mind will have a negative face. Dull face. Isn't it? Just the opposite is the spiritual glow. So here is a person who is practicing all these values. He is constantly meditating upon God. Now who is the God? Who is God? Beauty incarnate. An embodiment of all these noble virtues. So what happens when you meditate upon that Lord? These virtues also start reflecting in your mind, in your personality. That reflection of these divine virtues in your heart, it creates a special glow in your face. It's a spiritual shine or spiritual glow. So there is a depth of peace which he experiences in the mind. In the heart is overflowing with devotion for God. There is so much of selflessness. There is so much of goodness. All these create a kind of brilliant personality in him which is very clearly seen in the shine on his face. It is called as, sometimes it is called as aura. It is called as aura. Spiritual people have a very brilliant aura. It has something to do with the mind. A spiritual mind emanates spiritual aura. This is called as tej. There are different levels of tej also. When you eat good food, there is a different kind of tej. When you are hungry and famished, the tej is less. But when you eat good food, nutritious food, there is a particular shine. Isn't it? Good food plus exercise, there is an extra shine. Isn't it? But this spiritual shine is far, far higher. That person stands apart in the crowd. That is called as tej. In English it's called as a vigor, energy, enthusiasm. Actually there is no translation for tej in English. They translate it as vigor. Vigor simply means energy or enthusiasm. But actually there is no translation. Tej. Can say spiritual glow or shine. Tejaha, kshama. Next is dhritihi. Dhriti means fortitude. What is fortitude? That never say die attitude is called dhriti. I will not give up. Dhriti. Come what may, I am not going to give up. That attitude of the mind is called dhriti. Karyam va sadhayami, deham va patayami. Either I will drop dead or I will attain the goal. This is called as dhriti. If there is one virtue in all these virtues which will ensure your success in spirituality, that is this dhriti. Don't give up. Doesn't matter. Today my devotion is weak, my control over the mind is not there. don't have vairagya, I don't have any of these qualifications, no problem. But I will work hard. I will go on working hard till I attain the goal. That spirit is called dhriti. And a person who has this, definitely he is going to attain the goal. So it really doesn't matter whether you have these virtues or not. Doesn't matter. But do you have this one thing? What? Dhriti if you have, then everything else will come in time. The law of this world is whatever you intensely desire in life, it will come to pass. It will happen. This is the law of life. So dhriti is that attitude, that quality in you, born out of your intense desire, because of which you never give up. Go on and on and on. A day will come when you will see the light at the end of the tunnel. Success is sure. Success is sure for the persevering. Dhriti is that one. Dhriti. Next one is shaucham. What is shaucham? Purity, cleanliness. Cleanliness both at the physical level and also at the mind level. We should be clean. At the body level, we should be clean. Clothes we wear should be clean. The surrounding should be clean. You cannot say, I am a spiritual person, I don't care about all this. Nonsense. Cleanliness is next to godliness. Cleanliness at both the levels. At the physical level also you should be clean. At the mental level also you should be clean. What is the cleanliness at the mind level? The purity of emotions, the purity of thoughts. They are all the purity at the mind level. Shaucham, cleanliness. Clean mind, pure mind. Shaucham. Next is adroha. Adroha means what? Absence of droha. Absence of droha means not poking your nose in the affairs of others. Not creating droha for others. Actually, adroha means ahimsa. But since ahimsa has already been said, we'll have to define adroha as not creating problem for others. Meaning what? Mind your own business. Right. This is also a very bad habit. We are more interested in what is happening in others' life. And in the process, our life slips away from us. We are more interested in giving advice to others. They have not asked your advice. No, even then I should. We are all advisors. Stop interfering in the lives of others. Give them freedom. Everyone needs an elbow space, as they say. Isn't it? Don't interfere in others' matters unless they invite you. So this is called adroha. Mind your own business. In this world we have come as a patient. This world is a hospital. Who come to the hospital? Sick people come to the hospital. What is the disease we are all suffering from? Kama, krodha, lobha, moha, madamatsarya, born out of ajnana, ignorance. So now, what is the most important duty or responsibility of a patient admitted to the hospital? Going around, seeing the wards, chatting with other patients? No. His job is stick to your room, full stop. Whatever medicines doctors have given, eat it, take rest. Yes or no? In the same way, who are these doctors? Sadguru is a doctor. Isn't it? Hospital is this world. What are these medicines? These medicines are all the scriptural practices, spiritual practices, which you have to constantly take to get rid of this disease of samsara. The disease which you are suffering from is the disease of samsara. And then when you become healthy, then you go out of this hospital. You become mukta purusha, liberated. So instead of doing all this, you run around here and there, not listening to the doctor, never there in your own room. You are always there in somebody else's room. Then that is adroha. Right. Next is natimanita, absence of mana. Mana means pride. Absence of extreme pride. Absence of too much of pride. Meaning humility. Simple. Be humble. Humility is a great virtue to be cultivated. Never be proud of what you have. Everything belongs to God. You are just a caretaker. Take care of it properly, but never be proud of these things. Be humble. So up to this is Daivi Sampat. Daivi Sampat. All these virtues we must practice, we must cultivate in us. To the extent we cultivate these values in us, to that extent spiritual journey will become smooth. Gaining the highest knowledge becomes easy and effortless. Right, from tomorrow onwards we will see just the opposite of this Sampat. What is the opposite? Asuri Sampat. The wealth gained by the Asuras, or that which makes you an Asura. Asura or Rakshasa is not the person with, what you call, horns and that fangs, the teeth. No. Many of us are Asuras only. We will see the description of Asuric tendencies. That we will see tomorrow. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.